Welcome into the second video here on the Fanalyst YouTube channel. Thanks for finding us. You can also find us at Fanalyst US on Twitter and on Instagram, and we've got a page on Facebook as well if you're still using that thing. You can find me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. Those are two of the accounts that I handle. You can find our guest today, Royal Shepherd, at Royal A. Shepherd. Make sure you use that A in the middle. I don't know what that stands. What does that stand for, Royal?
Alexander.
Wow. A lot of guesses. I probably would not have come up with that. I'm not sure why.
I have two middle names, but I don't use the second one.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah. So what is the second one?
Vernard. It's a mixture of my aunt and uncle's first names. Van and Gerard. My mom mixed them together. So my name's Royal Alexander Vernard Shepherd.
I don't give anybody my middle name. I don't. I give everybody my nickname, so that's why I'm Ethan J. Skolnick and not Ethan R. Skolnick. I'll let the rest of you figure that out. Well, we're here with Royal today because what we're doing here on the Fanalyst channel is we're telling stories of the people who are starting to tell stories in sports media. So we're getting the background on some of the folks who may have come into this a different way but are creating the content that people are watching, they're reading, they're listening to. Our guy, Royal Shepherd, has sort of taken over the post-game show on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel, but he did not start with this ambition necessarily. So we're going to get into this, his background, where he's from, and again, what we want to do with these interviews is kind of explain that there is a path for everyone. We had Brady Hawk on the first episode. He came up to me at a Heat game, or up to Alphonse Sidney actually, and asked if he could write for the 5 Reasons sports website. He started writing at 16 and a half years old. At 18 years old, he's fully credentialed to Heat games, asking Jimmy Butler the first question, and he's got a Twitter following of like 7,000 people. We're going to talk to others who came up different ways. But Royal, actually, first thing, you are from down here in South Florida. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm from Pompano Beach, Florida.
Okay.
I went to Bletchley High School. My freshman year was actually the year that they won the state championship with Tyrone Moss. That was my freshman year of high school.
Okay, there you go. Actually, there's been some pretty good basketball players to come out of there as well, right?
Yeah, that was because of Coach Melvin Randall. He kind of took over the program after I graduated, and then they kind of went on a little run where they won a couple of state championships, and he recently went to a different school. So, but yeah, they had some good. Eddie Jones is also one of the basketball players that came out.
That's who I was thinking of, was covering Eddie, and that's why I spent some time over at the high school. He was always competing with Keon Dooling about stuff, who went to Dillard, two of the best high school players that Broward has ever produced. But your path, again, did not start off to become a post-game host on a YouTube channel, right? I mean, you did some writing before all of this.
Actually, I took the traditional path to becoming a journalist. A lot of people don't really know that. I really went to college for psychology, and I ended up graduating from that program in 3 years. And so I knew immediately that I was never going to do anything with that. So I decided to re-enroll in undergrad, and my major was journalism. And so I did that. First job out of college was with the Augusta Chronicle newspaper, where they host the Masters. So I've gotten a chance to play on Augusta National, cover some of the events at the Masters. But I was a newspaper writer, came back to the Tallahassee Democrat. They had me writing health and fitness. And after I realized that I wouldn't make the type of money that I was hoping that journalists make, I kind of did a career pivot. But that was only a few years ago, maybe like 7 years ago. But I was a journalist for 10 years before.
So how old are you now, Royal?
I'm 33.
Okay, so you're 15 years younger than me. So again, this kind of takes you through the path of what's happened to newspapers, and one of the reasons that Fanalysts have popped up, because when I came in, and I've told my story before, the traditional path, they told you finish undergrad, major in journalism if you can, go to grad school. So I did for 1 year at Columbia, apply to internships. I did that. I got rejected to a bunch of them. The one I got was the LA Times. Get yourself a part-time job. I did that back at the Baltimore Sun and then at the Palm Beach Post. Start covering high schools, and eventually they'll give you a pro beat. That was kind of the way that you did it.
I did the same thing.
Right, but when you came in, right, it was sort of the tail end of that, right? Like my path was still available when I was 21 years old. But when you came in, the door was already kind of shut. You were trying to pry it open.
I was seeing the industry crumbling around me as I was entering it. And so, so it's kind of like, it was like, I can either try and stick this out, because through and through, I am an actual journalist, contrary to what people see on the screen, which is kind of a caricature of who I really am. But I'm like a journalist through and through. I like to think of myself as an agent of truth. So I love the work involved. Like I love covering high school games. I love like going out there chasing down coaches, covering rowing and covering disc golf, like all the little parts of being a sports journalist that people don't see until you get to covering the NBA or professional sports. So I love doing all that kind of stuff, but I just saw like there was no future in this, and so I did a career pivot that completely took me out of journalism.
Yeah, and a lot of people have had to do that, and I feel like that is where kind of this community creator has come from in a lot of ways. We see the people who come to the network, some of them, just stayed forever, like like a Craig Davis or a Jeff DeForest. They stayed in the traditional area. They came to Five Reasons because really their path, the companies that they worked for so many years didn't take care of them at the end. We've certainly seen that in the corporate world in journalism, especially as the hedge funds start buying the newspapers. But then additionally, and I wouldn't consider you one of our younger contributors, as I mentioned, someone like Brady or Alex Baumgartner or others, but you're kind of in the middle path where you got squeezed a little bit. I mean, if you had even wanted to, like, where would you have gone next, like from a journalism perspective? Like, what did you see as the possible upside anywhere?
Sure. So, I mean, like I had done an internship in Bristol at ESPN. And so that was the trajectory that I was on. Like, it's kind of like why I started using the Royal A. Shepherd because of Stephen A. Smith. And then you kind of like, you kind of paint yourself in that narrative. And I never got out of it. So I never used the nickname or like any kind of fake name. I just used the branding that I wanted myself to be as a journalist. So I saw myself taking the ESPN route, writing though, like never in front of the camera. I never wanted to be in front of the camera because I knew that I had a problem kind of like containing my mouth at times. so
we like that. So that's okay.
Yeah. Like that, and that's kind of like where Five Reasons kind of like it essentially revived my journalism career from the dead because I was not interested in doing anything. And then I saw this and I saw it as an opportunity to write and like just to kind of like get it out. And you gave me that opportunity. And then I saw Alphonse Sidney. Like, and I was like, they allow people to do that on camera. I was like, I can do that. And it kind of like, I came in under him kind of doing a little streaming or whatever. And then he left. And so it was akin to when Wade left to go to Chicago where people were like lost and like, what the hell? But in my eyes, it was an opportunity. I was like, well, we're going to skip all that Hassan Whiteside and we're going straight to the Jimmy era. I'm Jimmy. Give me the ball. Like
I think you're Dion, actually, in this analogy. I think you're Dion Waiters in this
No.
And I am not telling Alf that he's Wade. I'm sorry. That's not going to – if he watches this, maybe he's 2016 Wade. I'm not going to allow him to be 2006 Wade. That's all.
But it's like what he stood for in terms of this space. Like for us as streamers and people coming up doing post-game shows and stuff, this is a lane that was created by Five Reasons. Like you guys like the top. And so he was at the top of the food chain in terms of people doing this work. So when he left, it left a vacancy at the top of that food chain. I'm not Dion. I'm Jimmy. We're going.
You're not going to pay 200. You're not going to pay 232 million.
I would demand the max from Five Reasons Sports when my contract negotiations come up.
We have some luxury tax issues, which we'll get to you after. We'll lay those out after the show. And for a lot of reasons, they're called my daughter. But anyway, so I had to get her a new hat. But Royal, I just to go on this, like you said, you look at yourself as a journalist. I think a lot of the quote unquote fanalists do view themselves as journalists more than fans. I think our network with more than 50 contributors is kind of split. I think there are some who never saw themselves coming into journalism route. Then there are others like Louis Sung on the Dolphins side, who I know views himself, rightly so, as a journalist. But I do think, and let's try to get to that because I think that's important as more sort of fanalists come up in this space and as teams figure out what to do with them. Because like I said, we've gotten quote unquote fanalists credentialed in South Florida. I think more of that is going to happen around the country as they see kind of what's happening here organically, people creating their own content, whether it's through a Substack, whether it's through other plales, that they're going to have to be a little bit more liberal with the way that they give out credentials because the national outlets are not going to be sending people anywhere anymore. The mainstream outlets, again, we used to send 4 to a road Dolphins game when I was at the Palm Beach Post. Now they're lucky if they send 1. And so the teams, if they want coverage from anywhere other than in-house and sort of state media, they're going to have to go to Fanalyst. But where do you see yourself now on the line? Because you came in as a journalist, but you say some things on that post-game show you would not say as a journalist necessarily. So is it more the fan or the analyst or the journalist part of this now?
So one of the things that I had to allow myself to do was to let go of, my what I thought I would end up being in this space, which was a
Mm,
full-fledged hard-on journalist. I decided to let that go. And what I've done, Ethan, it's kind of like I let the fan take over, but the analyst is still running in the background. And,
mm,
and so I haven't, like, people like Brady Hawk, they speak to the analyst in people. Like the masses, our audience who want to be analysts, him, Nikias Duncan, they speak to them
mm.
like by showing them where the nail is, showing them why Jimmy's so effective in the nail. I speak to the fan. Like
Right.
that's why that's the lane that I've chosen to go. Like I speak to people's emotion on the post game show. If you come on after a win and you want to be happy, come join me because I'm excited. I'm saying we're winning the title. If you're angry or pissed off about a loss, come join me because I am going to tell you to trade everybody on the roster, and I'm going to do it in the voice that you think that deserves to be said in. And so for me, like I kind of let the fan take over while still trying to cater to the analysts, viewers that I have, because you have to include them. And I think I've done a nice job of involving people in emotion to the point where they want to give me their money so that I can tell their emotions on the stream.
Yeah, no doubt. You're certainly the best at that. I will say that, much better than I am at that. All right, so to close here, and I want to get to this. I think you've hit on something. I feel like this is where sports coverage is going, because the other part of this is that we were taught as journalists to be objective, right? Like that's the word that's used. Objective doesn't mean you can't have an opinion, but it needs to be based in fact and it needs to be fair. I mean, that's the way that it was taught to me. But at some point, the whole objectivity thing in sports, first thing, it's never really made sense. I mean, this isn't politics, okay, right? I mean, it's not. This isn't rocket science. You should be allowed to root. But also, I feel like ESPN changed the game on this anyway, because you mentioned Stephen A. He's an outward Knicks fan, right? Like we know that, okay? Yeah. Like Michael Wilbon, the Chicago teams, right? Like Skip Bayless, who's pretty
Tom Brady.
Well, yeah, we know what Skip Bayless is into, and it's just creating mess. But also, he talks about the Cowboys. He's got certain teams. The Spurs are his team, right? Like Coward talks about the Lakers all the time. Like I feel like we got away from this anyway. So then why wouldn't the fans want to go to people who are really fans, not the ones playing fans on TV, but to go to the ones who are really fans because they care about what Brady Hawk is saying, because Brady cares. Like Brady cares about why Jimmy is more effective than, and you care about why this guy is playing in a certain situation. I can tell you the beat guys don't really care. And it's not an indictment of them, because I was one for 20, 25 years. We care about making our deadline and what time can we get a later flight in the morning, and is the bar still open when we leave? Like that is really like what we care about. I mean, I was MFing everybody when Ray Allen hit the shot of a lifetime, the greatest shot ever, because
you already had your story. You already had your story written, and you had to change the whole thing.
I had to change it, but see, I can't reflect the kind of passion that a fan can reflect. And I feel like in the modern age, the fans want that. They want to know somebody feels what they feel. That I think the feeling is more important than the analyzing sometimes.
Yeah, so it's twofold to that. Like that's one of the reasons why I needed to get out of journalism, because what people don't understand is, it sounds great to cover sports, but you lose your ability to root for teams covering sports. You lose the fan goggles. Like you can't even see the game like fans anymore, because you're only thinking about certain things as you're watching a basketball game or something like that. The part about it is that ESPN did was they transitioned it from analytics to entertainment. And that's what sports has become. And that's what fans are coming to people like me for. Like they want to be entertained as they're talking about as they talk about their team. Sure, you can have people like, I'm glad that we have a nice mix at the 5 Reasons Sports Network, where you have people who spend their time and spend their passion analyzing the game. And then you have people on the other side of it, like me, who are just solely here to entertain. I'm solely here to entertain whoever as I transition to the voices that you would like to hear. And so I think the mixture of those two worlds is where the fan is coming, and that's where they're finding on the 5 Reasons Sports Network and places like that, because they can't get it. It's too corporate on one side, too free willy-nilly on the other. So they're finding a great mixture here where you can be entertained and informed. And I think that's what the fan is drawn to, and that's exactly what Fanalyst is.
Yeah, and no doubt. And those are the people we want to promote, like yourself. And look, the reality is, an ESPN postgame show, I mean, they're going to talk about 2 teams in each league, and it ain't going to be yours. Okay, so that's how this works, and I think that is why people are drawn. I think it's about local, it's about passion, but it's also, I think, about having people who do care about journalism. You just can't have anybody just throwing anything out there with no accountability. You try to have accountability. And I know you guys do on the post-game show. And when you guys are wrong, you say you're wrong. I think that's the other thing. And I will close here. I mean, you have been all over Tyler Hero for more than a year, and you just ordered your Tyler Hero jersey. Okay, you put it up on. I mean, that's like a month's pay. You put it up on for me. You put it up on the Twitter space just so people could see that you actually bought this thing.
I promised them that I would. Like I gave my viewers a task. I say, make this video hit 600 likes before I end the stream. They did it. It is up to me. That's part of my integrity. Like if I promise you guys that I'm gonna go buy a Tyler Hero jersey, I'm gonna buy it as soon as it's available. I'm gonna put my receipts up here, and I'm gonna wear that jersey every game that we have to talk about Tyler Hero, because that's what the fans asked of me. I asked them to do something, they did it, and so I'm running with that.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Our producer here, Maddie Chang, throwing it up there. There it is, the proof of it. I think you're going to need to wear it to a game. You are not based in Pompano anymore, although we do have watch parties down there. Royal, we appreciate it. Royal Alexander Shepard. You can find, I'm not saying the other name because I couldn't remember it. Royal A. Shepard on Twitter. And, of course, the host of Post Up 5R on the Heat and the NBA after every single Heat game, even the West Coast ones. We'll be back with an interview with Taylor Mathis later this week. Make sure you catch the one we did with Brady Hawk.